What up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of ArmTalk. I'm your host, Jody Williams, and today I got my guest. He came back to talk about this major event coming up, the Nightmare himself, Mr. Schwarz. Dan, if you may, welcome back to the show.
Thank you again for having me, man. It's always a pleasure to share a screen with you, man.
Yes, I got a busy day. This is part one of my dual shows today. So, reason why I reached out because I saw something, and I saw the theme, and I kind of like what y'all had to offer. It's, in case you guys haven't noticed, it's city slickers versus country folk. And the more I sat there, I saw was that a belt buckle I saw with
yeah.
But okay, so are those awards?
That's going to be the award for the team that has the most wins. So each individual match is going to be a $500 wager per match. So it's a total of $5,500 as we have pretty much every weight class for every about 10 pounds, 5 kg, give or take, and a females division as well. So we have 11 super matches. And so each of those, whoever wins that takes home $500, but whoever collects the most wins at the end of the day takes home the buckle.
So, okay, so let's just say how many on per team?
Sorry?
How many athletes are on a team?
So it's gonna be 11. 11 on one side, 11 on the other side. So we have 11 of the best of the Northeast region, New York tri-state area, assembled by myself and Steve Fernandez. He did the most of the recruitment of that. He went to every tournament. I don't know if you guys have seen him at a local tournament in the Northeast. He's everywhere. This man, I swear to God, he found out how to teleport because he is everywhere.
Teach me how to do that.
Right. I wish I could travel around like that, man. And he collected a bunch of names, some of the best of the names that people who haven't had an opportunity to get on a big stage and get on a big production. And they presented some of their best of the Montana, and some people actually from the Northwest, I would say. I think there's some guys from Canada coming down as well, and other people from other states, local states in the region.
And the reason why I
came from actually my podcast.
Well, the reason why I saw that flyer, I'm thinking, okay, whoever did the poster was like, okay, that was genius, by the way, because I'm thinking, okay, you got the rough, rugged, country folk, and then you got the slick back city slicker and that kind of stuff. So I do like that, and I'm kind of going, and it makes me wonder, is there going to be contrasting styles with this? Okay, if it's the city slicker, he's going to be real slick about his, technique. If it's country folk, he's going to be like, I'm just going to go inside, rah, rah, rah. So I was always, curious to see how that was going to unfold,
Well, you know what? It sounds like you're calling my match as it is right now, because I'm going against this guy, Kevin Playboy Roy, who's, top guy with the 176 weight class in Montana. And he's originally from the Northeast, but he's known to be a hook puller, and I'm known to be a top roller. So, you're literally dictating and predicting what the match is going to look like for us. Right. So that's exactly my plan. I mean, I'll see if I can slam in a hook with him to see if I can handle that good old country muscle, and stop it in his tracks. But, I got a couple of rounds to play around, right?
Yes. Well, we got a comment already regarding this. First one out. Archdog, welcome to the show. Thanks for chiming in. He says, in my honest opinion, we have way too many tournaments the last year or so. Do you agree, disagree? What's your thoughts on that?
I think it's amazing to have as many tournaments as we've been having. I think it gives people more options. A lot of people have busy lives. People have families. They have other, obligations that they got to adhere to. So having as many tournaments available is the most profound way to get there.
Right. Mr. Fernandez, I see you teleported back. What's up, buddy?
Could you hear me now?
Yeah, you're awesome now. You're awesome now.
All right, good stuff.
And then the second part to follow up on that, Archdog says, pre-pandemic on YouTube here, we're about 8 arm wrestling channels. Now we got 1,000 out of nowhere. I'm glad the sport is growing, but it's getting crazy. So let me ask you this, Archdog. Honest question, honest comment. And I want you guys to, if there was no king at the table, and if there was no, East versus West, no Knuckles Up, no AWC, are we still saying the same thing? Because that's what's getting all the publicity right now. Now, like I said, and it could be, yeah, it could water down other tournaments, but at the same time, it's choices that we all make. Do I choose to go to this event or not? I understand that, it's all prevalent, but you got to understand one thing though. Since the pandemic, though, this sport has a big boom of people, who saw a lot of stuff on YouTube and go, I want to start doing that. So there you go. But I mean, it's all relatively all depending on the person. You know what I mean? So anyway,
I got a question for that in that regard. I got a question actually, if you don't mind, Jody.
Yeah.
What came first, the chicken or the egg? Was it the King of the Table event, or the fact that we're getting a large fan base because of the pandemic? Because nobody had, everyone had so much free time on their hands. They were finding out different hobbies that they enjoyed, so that there's a demand there. So we have to supply the King, versus King of the Table and East versus West. We have to supply that level and caliber in quantities to satiate maybe the growing and budding crowd that we have.
Yeah. Steve, you want to chime in on that? I know you kind of came in the middle of that.
I actually do. That's actually perfect timing. So I love the sport. I love what everybody's doing with the sport, which is great. I love the tournaments. Everything about Knuckles Up, East versus West, both of them. I'm not a guy with an IFA or WAF. I like them both. I just like arm wrestling in general. But there's sometimes there has to be changes done. In order to be changes done, you have to do them the right way, and you have to expose the sport for what it is more than what people think. And not just for the arm wrestlers, but for the people that don't arm wrestle. And so they can take a look at the sport and they can see exactly how fascinating it is and how many different things there are to do in the grip and top rolls and going inside and a hook, flop press, and people don't understand that and how much devotion you have to do in order to get that type of level, even to get your hand strength, and I brought my fiance to East versus West, and she had no idea what she was watching until we saw Brzezinski up there up against Leonidas, and then she realized that a 60-year-old man compared to a young guy into the sport, as big as he is, but
right,
to just be able to have that quality of level of experience and still be able to overcome what he did. And then she realized when he was going in, it wasn't just let me see if I can do this and let me see if I can arm wrestle. There's a lot of technique involved that people don't understand that takes that to the next level. And not only that, but to get into somebody's personal lives and to see who's Chocolate Thunder and what he does and how did he begin into the sport and how long he's been pulling, who's his favorite puller and what does he do for work? Does he have any kids, his wife, any kind of brothers or sisters, family oriented or anything about that. Now I want to know everything about Chocolate Thunder, not just about that, but I want to know about Dan the Nightmare. What made Dan the Nightmare? Was he always that small? Was he a bigger guy? What did he do with his family? How long has he been pulling? What does he do for work? Why is his hand that strong? All these things need to be told about that personal person. So when they go up on that table, they already know a person that doesn't pull or that person that does pull, they see a little bit more on that person that's going to be in that super match. Oh, you know what? I know that guy. He actually does tree work. And they already know him personally, until the next level. So I think in order to do something like that, you have to make a kind of like a reality show type of super match series to be able to do and tell a person's story, and really know what type of person they are. And then when you see them up at the table, you get a little bit more personal. You know a little bit more about that person. You like about that person. You love about that person because you can relate to that person, into that lifestyle or what they do or what they've done or what they went through. So I think that's the way to bring up arm wrestling into the next level, to really tell a story about that person right in front of him and why they're so good and how they're so good and what makes them special, So that's what I think.
And I agree with that. So question for you two and everybody in the chat, Archdog, Scott, Paul. So we as arm wrestlers, we all have that common goal. We want to kind of grow the sport. Do we agree on? Can we agree on that?
Absolutely.
Okay. So the question I have, so I'm trying to think, and this is nothing against Archdog whatsoever, nothing against him. So Archdog, please do not take anything personal from this, because the comment he said was, "Hey, I think in the last couple of years or so, we got way too many tournaments." I can kind of see where he's going. It could be saturated, but I will say this though: if we all want the sport to grow, are we supposed to just sit there and just watch and not compete? For those that want to get into it, I'll watch. I don't want to compete because there's too many tournaments. Are we supposed to do that then? Because I'm just being honest. Because if you're trying to grow the sport, you can only do so much. Because how do you think UFC got so big? When you start seeing people like Royce Gracie, Dan Severn, some of the OGs of the sport.
Mm-hmm.
You think people, and it's Shamrock, you think those guys didn't sit there, and Dan Henderson, you got guys like John Jones going, I want to do that, right? Daniel Cormier, I want to do that. And the list goes, George St. Pierre, I want to do that. So and then those guys are competing, which brings in the next wave of guys. So are we not supposed to participate in this? Or are we supposed to just sit there and just watch and just, be happy with that? I mean, I don't know. It's just an honest question,
I think both. I think you need to be watching and need to be related into it, and obviously be in the sport 100%. I think both, because there's going to be people that are just going to be watching the sport and love that personal thing about the sport, and then there's going to be just like UFC, because there's not everybody fights that are in UFC. I don't do any kind of mixed martial artist, but I watch UFC all the time. I love UFC. So you have to get both of those type of people that are going to be in there, because you want everybody to love the sport. So I think it's got to be a double-edged sword. I think it's got to be almost both at the same time, but there are people that are going to be loving that sport and loving that personal, pro puller. And I think that's what's going to be, bring it to the next level, because you can't just have pullers only do that. I think everybody has to love the sport in order for it to grow to the next level.
Right. Hey, okay. I'll put it this way. Y'all like football?
Yeah.
I like football. Yeah. I don't watch it like that, like crazy.
I don't watch it regularly.
Yeah.
But you got the NFL. But now, you had the USFL came back. You had the UFL. So there's different levels. The guys that still want to compete, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You got the NBA. Well, guess what? Now you still got the Ice Cube League, the 3-ball. You got that league. The people who still want to compete.
Mm-hmm.
You got the developmental league. This is something we never had 10 years ago, because the sport is growing. Now we got international people coming over to the States and playing for the NBA. Why? Because the sport is growing. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, it's getting bigger. Now, how many times are we seeing the NFL play in London now? It's getting bigger. So it's no different from, arm wrestling. It's getting bigger. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I could be wrong, but it's just when you see that, I know we're kind of getting off base of the topic, but when you see that kind of stuff, it excites me, because if you're trying to get more eyes on the sport, they got to know there's more people than just John Brzezinski, Devin Larratt, and a few other, and the list goes on, right? There's other people who are good, but maybe they don't get the notoriety. Maybe they don't get the platform to showcase their talents.
Right.
Case in point, City Slickers, Country Folk. Steve, your version, take it away.
Yeah, man. So that's really why we're doing this. I don't want to just showcase guys that are just going to be from one spot. It's tri-state arm wrestling, New York tri-state arm wrestling. So it's going to be from all the guys from the tri-state area, and it's going to be from all over, man. Mass, Vermont, we have Boston, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New Hampshire. I'm saying there's guys going to be from all over. They're going to be pulling. So I can't wait, man. At women's, there's going to be Madison Walker is going to be taking over. She's going up against Jolene Anderson. So, and all the way from 154, 165, 176, 187, 198, so on and so forth. So we're hitting every single weight class all the way up, so we're not missing, we're going every 10 pounds or so. So, but the other thing is too, up against these Montana guys, they're just not from Montana. There's some of them are from Canada, some are from Ohio, some are from a couple different other states, that we're going to be pulling from their areas too. But they have some killers too.
Right.
The guys in general that, we're bringing up there have a story to tell. Every single guy was specifically picked because they have a story to tell. They have a background that people need to see, and just, you can't tell a book by its cover, which Dan is a perfect person that you can see, from one hand to the other. Don't get don't let him fool you. You know what I mean? Because if he gets on that table, he's going to tear your fucking hand off. Excuse me, but it's just.
But that's okay. My show is rated R, so it's all right.
But yeah, I could just tell you, there's guys that don't understand and realize this guy was a much bigger person before you guys ever got to see him. Not only that, but big heart too as well. Dan's got a lot of stuff going on all the time, and he's a busy person, but he's also a busy person that helps me out. And if it wasn't for Dan, and doing this whole City Slickers in Montana thing is a big thing. If it wasn't for him helping me out, it probably wouldn't happen of all the sponsors that he got. So I appreciate you, Dan, for working as hard as you did, absolutely. But beyond that, also like my 154 guy, Garrett Tupper, his father's coming with him. Why? Because his father got him into the sport years ago. Then he stopped and he started picking it up again 3 to 4 years ago. And he's an absolute monster. There's guys that don't even want to face him because guy's a lot bigger in person. And then when they don't want to see him because they see a picture of him, they're like, nah, he's got to be 176. I'd rather pull somebody else. Guy's an absolute monster. If the father-son thing is what I love too, is him teaching his son, going on to that, so that is another next level thing that people need to understand and see, just like Roger Learn, he's got his 2 wives that he, lives with, and as well, he broke his arm and he got out of the sport and went back into the sport. Everybody has their own separate lives and stories to tell, and that's what I want everybody to know and tell and see before the super match, because it's going to be sick. I can't wait.
Well, I have a comment before I ask the next question from ArchDog,
Sure.
And I want you guys' opinion, and I'll let Dan go first. So here's the thing. Another reason why I like what you guys are doing is because we all know not everybody's an elite puller. There's different levels and we tell the new people, right, coming into sport, there's different levels to the sport. Now, I, for one, am not an elite puller whatsoever. So you're never going to see me on, East versus West, King of Table. But what you guys are doing does showcase we're like, hey, you might not be up there in the upper echelon with those guys and girls, but guess what? This is what we can offer you. You see what I'm saying? Like, hey, Schwarz, this is what we can offer you, that kind of thing. So you kind of go, oh, okay, that's interesting, and then all of a sudden, next thing you know, word gets out, oh, this would be pretty cool, because now it's like, hey, I belong in this. I don't belong in that because that's way above my, power or whatever, but I fit in right here. It's like that, hey, get in where you fit in. Does that make sense? Dan, what do you think?
I think it's actually perfect because it's a great opportunity to showcase what I can do. As somebody who has traveled a little bit, and if you can see behind me, I only have like 1 or 2 first place medals. In tournament pulling, it's a different style of arm wrestling, in my opinion, than super match pulling. Right.
Right.
Some guys can operate at a very elite level throughout the entire start to finish of a tournament. They have the stamina, the withdrawal to be able to handle that. But that's just how their training is up to, and they do very well in super matches as well. But there's some guys out there, like I can actually evolve and adapt to the one specific puller. I can see, and I've been able to do so over the short period of time I've been arm wrestling. I've only been arm wrestling for, at the pro level for 3 years, altogether for 4. And I want to see where I stand against somebody who's a little bit more of a veteran in the sport. So the only way I can do that is if I put myself out there in an opportunity like this. And I don't think that I can hang as of yet, because I'm still green behind the ears in the East versus West setting, or King of the Table, or even Monster Factory at this point in time. But that doesn't mean I ain't striving for it. I got to put myself out there enough times, and hopefully something sticks.
Right. This could be a stepping stone to your next level. By showcasing it here, there's people that can show you and see some of you in that lighting and be like, my God, I was not expecting that. And just like an after pull that we discussed with someone else, which I'm not going to say his name because I love you, but either way, like an after pull that you had, Dan, with the 260-pound guy, look, after pulls are after pulls, but at the same time, when it's unexpected and you're not expecting the amount of power that you get out of somebody, and then you're like, Jesus. So that's what needs to be showcased, is that it could be on, if it's not in Montana, it could be in New York, and then people see you somewhere and they see that you can probably be in Knuckles Up and then be on Knuckles Up or be on Mac or be on any of those, I would say, mid to great levels that we have right now. And that your stepping stone to go to East versus West, to go to King of the Table, to so that's what I think that kind of showcases. That's what I'm really trying to do for these guys, to make sure that their talents are showcased all around, because the guys that I'm bringing over here are killers, man, and they don't have a slightest clue what's going to happen, man. I feel bad for Montana, to tell you the truth.
Well, and it comes back to you guys. It's coming full circle. Let's just say somebody out of your event coming up just whoop the hell out of everybody. They go to it, and then they get noticed. And all of a sudden, you get Magda from Canada going, "Hey, I saw what you did here. We'd love to have you at our event." Or Knuckles Up gives them a call. Or, hey, Texas, those guys down in Texas, Flash Pin Production, they get a call, whatever. You know what? When that guy or girl gets showcased, they want to know, hey, well, where'd you come from? Oh, I went to the City Slickers versus Country Folk tournament. Well, guess what? Now the attention goes back to you, and now it's like, okay, well, look, that was one of our own. Here we go, right? So it kind of comes full circle to a certain degree, It
does. It does 100%. I agree with that 100%. There's actually a guy that I spoke to that I wanted to bring with us, and it's the guy that I've seen that took first place, not only at Nationals, but also at the Arnold's event that I just had, King of the Tri-State, on the 28th, and his name was Shakura. And I had to reach him out to see if he wanted to come for the ride, because he was an absolute monster. So that was like that, just like you said, it comes into a first full circle, because you're seeing all these guys, compete, and you see them compete somewhere else. And you're like, I haven't seen him too long, but every single time I see him in all these high level, competition, the guy's always fucking. So that's 100%. I agree with that. That's why I think there has to be more. I don't think there's. I like for them to be a lot of tournaments. I go to every tournament every Saturday. I'm at a different tournament. If I'm not at least taking a day off like today and trying to go to a concert, but I'm still working, doing what I got to do here, to make sure, everything needs to be out in the open. But the Stan, every Saturday I'm somewhere different. I'm either, if I'm not in Massachusetts, I'm in Boston, I'm in Vermont, anywhere, Jersey, Pennsylvania. I travel wherever I need to make sure wherever tournament. I was just at New England. Anywhere I need to go, I go, to make sure, one, to show my support, two, to really see what everybody's got. And I want to kind of scout to see if I can use this guy in another super match with somebody else to make sure that makes one hell of a match, So that's what I like to do.
I like that. So the question ArmTalk has, and he goes, if you pull in the mountains, like in a higher elevation, is it harder to compete with as far as like any other sports? I was in Loveland, Colorado. That's pretty high of elevation.
Yeah.
Earlier this year for the Super Series 64. And I personally did not notice a difference. I mean, I can't speak for everybody else, but I didn't notice. It didn't dawn on me. I was just trying to in my own element. Maybe my adrenaline was running, but I personally didn't have an issue with that. What do you guys think?
I actually think it for arm wrestling, I don't think it would affect it, unless I'm in a grueling match. If I'm in a barn burner, that's when I think it would take effect, because it's a short sprint of, if I'm flash pinning my opponent, I don't got to worry about the elevation per se, or having extended oxygen levels type of deal. I'm actually big on something called a hyperbaric oxygen therapy chamber, which increases your oxygen level in your body. And I use that as part of my recovery tactics post-training and heavy-duty training. So and my sister actually happens to live in Colorado. So I've done hikes over there, and I've done hikes over here. And the hikes over there, I was winded. But the short little sprint that I had to run to catch my niece before her running to the street type of deal, I felt fine. There was no, not affected.
What do you think, Steve?
I never experienced any kind of pulling over, high mountains or anything like that. So I couldn't really tell you the truth, whether it does or whether it doesn't. I only think that if you're going to be in a grueling match, like in a UFC match, you're, really trying to push, to the limit. I think that's what's going to make the difference. But I'm not sure if arm wrestling and like that, like maybe like Dan said, if you're in a grueling match going back and forth and you're going in and you're slipping out and then you're going to scraps and maybe that would take a toll, but I wouldn't be able to tell you, from a personal point of view.
Here's Scott Evans, a good friend of mine. He lives in Utah. So, anywhere in that mountain time zone that, Utah, Wyoming, Colorado, that area, you tend to, experience high elevation. But if you're from there, you probably don't even notice,
Right.
because you're so used to it. Where us, we don't live in a higher elevation. It's somewhat high here in Central Oregon, but not compared to those. But it's higher elevation than San Diego. I think San Diego might be below sea level. But the thing is, though, is that when I go to different towns, if I'm out of breath, it's because my ass is out of shape. That's pretty simple. I don't think it's the actual elevation thing. It's just me being out of shape, whatever, that kind of thing. But I just want to throw that out there because some people may think that, it's just it is what it is, But I'm thinking the 11 super matches you guys have, and then you got the belt buckle. Now, does everyone get one on the winning team, or who gets to go home with that?
So we'll be going home with that because obviously our team will be winning. So we'll be enjoying that. We'll be enjoying that belt buckle when we take it home and flashing all over on the live stream.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll be filming and everything like that for the weigh-ins and stuff. So we'll be enjoying that belt buckle the whole time. I'm glad all the guys will be competing for $500 for each arm. There'll be some side bets too with the other arm if they feel confident enough to bet. I'll be putting the money out to make sure that they make the money. It's not a bet that I'm betting for myself to make money. It's money that I put on the table, and they have their sponsors or their promoters that are on the table. And if they want to bet the money up against my guys, I'll back up every single one of you guys. You know that. That's the reason why I picked all you guys. So left or right arm. And if they think they're confident enough to go up against their guys, they will be making the money. It's more money that they'll make besides the $500 that they're already going to make.
So here's a question: are you going to the finals in the WSA?
No.
World Series of Arm in November. World Series of Arm Wrestling.
I'm not going to be going to that. No, I'm not going to. Because of the travel requirements, I'm a licensed massage therapist, so I don't get paid time off. I don't get sick time. If I'm not working, I'm not making money, and so I have to, load up on my work hours this month because I'm actually going away on Thursday to Puerto Rico. It's a bittersweet. I'm going to be celebrating my mother's 70th birthday, but also commemorating my recently passed grandmother.
Sorry to hear that.
Thank you. But the other benefit of going to Puerto Rico is I get to have one of my last final trainings of table time with the guys in Puerto Rico. Shout out to No Team Arm Wrestling, Garcia Francisco, also known as Kong, and Adam Hernandez. They're hosting a big practice for me to just, get me ready for Montana. So bring the heat.
Right. What I want to do, and I want to run it through you guys because I can kind of see how this concept is going to work. Being out of Oregon, right? I had this thing about, man, what if we can have this rivalry with the state of Washington, our neighbors up north, and have it like the I-5 showdown, and we have this cup, right? And every year we put a plank on there, and every year, hey, who was the champion of that year? Oh, it was Oregon. Then Oregon has until the next one. And then the next event, the cup's up again. And if Washington happens to have it, then their name will get engraved for that year they wanted. Just to kind of spark things up. It's kind of cool that way, but sometimes I think arm wrestling needs to be creative to kind of get everybody involved in stuff. You know what I mean?
I agree.
I'm thinking about that concept. I put it out there on a few occasions over the years, and guys here, arm wrestling here is a little different. It's just a little lukewarm. It's a lot going on, especially this time of year because hunting takes a precedent here in the Northwest. So I understand that. And then sometimes in the summer, it's camping, it's going to the beach, it's doing all that kind of stuff, and it's just different here as you are where you guys are from. So I always thought we could do something like that. What do you guys think about having some kind of cup and be like, all right, because I like the belt buckles. I'm like, well, the buckles are coming with us. Y'all gonna have to earn those. And I like the concept because again, 11 matches. Woo! I'm telling you, I'm loving that. What do you think about something like that?
That'd be good. I'm saying I like the concept of taking it and bringing it back. You know what I mean? And like you said, have it engraved, whoever won that year, and keep on pulling for whoever wants to be there to pull. I like that concept actually. That sounds good.
I love the idea of it. I love the idea of a traveling award. I think that it gains excitement. For instance, in the Northeast in Pennsylvania, at Keystones, which is there at Pennsylvania States.
Yeah.
They actually have every year a state battle. So whoever comes from each state, whoever collects the most wins at that tournament takes home the trophy. Gotcha. And so they I mean, it's not engraved or any personalized for that regard, but it is taken home. And it's kind of one of those things that people have a lot of pride for. And like they say, this year I'm going to take it from Jersey. Jersey, you won it last year, or Pennsylvania won it, or Virginia won it, whatever it may be. It creates that level of excitement, though, and it riles up different factions, different groups, different teams in that state to kind of come together and work together. And that's in that fashion. I love that idea because it presents an opportunity for people to collaborate that normally wouldn't.
Well, it's a shot in the arm in the sport that some people need. It's like, okay, because you'll have like teams within a team. So you get the state of Oregon, but then you got like 5 different teams in the state. Well, guess what? Now they're going to sit there and join forces because now we got to go on to something bigger against the guys up in Washington or maybe the guys in Idaho or whatever. So now it's like, okay, now we're pulling for a common cause. So all the guys you've been pulling against at state tournaments and all that kind of stuff, now you're on the same team. And now it's like, okay, it's something bigger than that. And that's kind of cool because then you build that camaraderie, that everyone's, yearning for these days. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. That's exactly, what I love about this event is that we're building a camaraderie. I mean, I wasn't able to make it yesterday due to doing some family Boy Scouts, but they had a little bit of a City Slickers gathering over at Steve's house. People who never really hang out together that often, or they usually just hang out at a tournament. So outside of a tournament, they had like a little gathering, little practice, comparing notes, game planning, and that's huge. That's huge. And that right there is all I could ever hope for in creating, my podcast, in joining you on screen, is that we see people coming together in a fashion that they haven't done before. Right. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. It was, I don't want to say too much, but so I'm trying to make this, it's going to be probably called Elite Region Arm Wrestling League. So we're going to be probably doing this, and it's going to be through New York Tri-State Arm Wrestling Promotions, and it's going to be I didn't even tell you, Dan, but it's going to be through 154 to the 2+. Now, while we're going around, and doing this Montana, we're going to be going from state to state. Everyone that loses their match gets replaced with someone else.
Ooh, okay. There's some pressure right there. Okay.
So the other thing is, too, as well, is that if you keep on winning, you stay on the team. You keep on traveling with the team. You keep on enjoying all the stuff that you get with the team and so on and so forth. So.
Oh, God. Hold on. So if you lose, it's like, all right, man. Okay, so that can be interesting. That can change some dynamic because
now you go back in after three guys. Let's say you go through. Let's just say an instance, and you can actually come in back in on the team after we go through 3 different guys, and you can be on that next roster to be like, well, we could pick you on this time. You know what I mean? But you can't just lose and then come right back in the next time. It's not like that.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? So you're going to have to take a seat for a little bit. And you lost. We're going to use somebody else. And then if we decide to bring you back, next time is what we'll do. And then you can come. But if you lost once, then we'll use somebody else. We'll use somebody else. And on that third one, we'll be able to bring you back if you want to come back on the team.
Using that formula, it's almost like, hey, man, I got cut from the basketball team. I better go back and work on my jump shot, or I got to go back and work on my dribbling. So that way, when I get the call, I'll be like, hello, Steve, what's up? Yeah, I've been ready. Dude, I've been ready since I lost. Okay. Well, what's the next event? Yeah. January? I'm not busy. What's up? What weekend? 14th? Okay. Whatever. You know what I'm saying? I mean, just something like that. Because then, because do you know how much? And here's the thing. Another reason why you do it that way, you're going to find out who the real pullers are. Because there's that old saying, the cream rise to the top, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. So if you lose and now all of a sudden you got to bow out, tail between legs, or whatever you want to talk about. Now you get to be on the sideline going, fuck. So one of two things are going to happen. Either one, they're going to say, well, fuck it. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this anyway. Or B, no, all right, I'm going to show you. I'm going to go back. I'm going to train hard. I'm going to work on my flaws. That way, when I get that call, I'm going to come back guns blazing. So you're going to get one or two things when you do it that way, right?
Mm-hmm.
I got you.
I got it.
And you have to take consideration, right? Just so you have an idea what it's going to be like, because Dan has already kind of like a glimpse, because I show him everything that I'm doing and what's going on. Now, these guys are getting the cream of the crop of everything. We're getting picked up from my house. It's going to be a party bus, leather seats, lights, drinks, everything else going to JFK, okay? When we get to JFK, we're going to be live streaming cameras and the whole thing, the whole nine. We get there depending on what time, whatever we ever get there, when we're comfortable. After we get to Bozeman Airport, we're taking another van over to the mansion. We're going to be staying in a mansion that's absolutely gorgeous. Me and Dan picked it out. If one of the guys there that's actually pulling, that's going to be in the mansion, help me pick out the place, I think it's a beautiful place. You know what I mean?
It's gorgeous.
2 floors, jacuzzi, fire pit, cameras all over, the whole nine, tables so they can pull. And mountain views, obviously, is going to be absolutely gorgeous. I take them out to eat the first night, whatever. We go in for Wayne's the second day on Friday. But before we go to Wayne's, obviously, we have to take them to the hot springs. You got to have the delightful time to go to the mountains of the hot springs and do a gorgeous time. You can eat, drink there, relax, do whatever you need to. We go in for interviews. The guys do some interviews. You go in for Wayne's. Go out for a nice dinner afterwards, too, with everybody's company. Both crews, so Montana versus the City Slickers. So you can see the country folks and City Slickers there at the same time.
Right.
And obviously go home, relax. We still have the mansion to party with and do whatever we need to. Jacuzzi time, have a great time in the mountains, fire pit, and whatever we need to do. Maybe we'll go out that night. Who knows? Maybe we won't, because we got to get prepared for the next day. But let's just say if we go the next day on Saturday, there'll be interviews. Everything will be live streamed. They'll be on the camera. They have absolutely phenomenal production that they use. And that's going to be on Saturday, face-offs and everything like that. And then Sunday we'll be going home. So the treatment and everything that they'll have is going to be top notch. Dan,
it's an experience. Damn, the treatment. That whole thing is an experience.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah.
So they're going to experience something different that they've never had before, with people taking pictures at the same time they're recording. We're going to be live streaming, going out to the hot springs, going out to eat, fire pits, jacuzzis, the whole nine. You know what I mean? So they're going to have an experience, definitely.
Are you guys going to when you guys get to that place, are you guys going to get to a point where y'all have a team meeting? All right, guys, I know we're having fun, but it's time to talk turkey. Let's get down to business.
Yeah.
We're here for a reason. Because in this sport of arm wrestling, I got a thing where it's business first, celebrate second.
Yeah,
we're here for a reason.
Absolutely.
Let's do what we kind of do, and then we can have that after it's all said and done. We can have fun and go from there. So at some point, you're probably going, all right, guys, no messing around. You got your drinks, whatever. Y'all gather around the fireplace, whatever, and kind of go, okay, what's the game plan? Because by that point, you already know who the matchups are. It's like Nightmare. How you feeling about your match? Let's talk about it. Who you pulling against? Oh, I'm pulling against so-and-so. How you feel? What you need to work on? Have you been watching tape on this guy? I mean, just, the whole deal, because I think that's the experience of it,
Absolutely. Yeah, we just had a talk yesterday with all the guys and everything, and everybody's been studying all their guys, and they know exactly who they're pulling, how they pull, whether they're going inside or going outside. So they know exactly what they're doing, what's going on. And to tell you the truth, there's some guys that are more, go into depth with their opponent, and then somebody else is just, they look a couple of things, not too much, But I know in general, like Vlad, he's an absolute monster, man. I did not think that, I knew Vlad was a beast, but after yesterday, man, I don't even care who he's pulling yesterday at Montana, because he's gonna tear his arm off. I feel bad for the guys from Montana, man, because this is going to be a
slaughter.
It's going to be a slaughter. I seen Vlad yesterday, and he was sitting there with his left arm, and I was like, "You're ridiculous." He goes, "Yeah." He's like, "It hurts." He's like, "It's been hurt. It's been out." I was just like, "It's hurt." He goes, "Yeah, I don't pull my left." I was like, "You don't pull with your left?" And I was just like, and the guy's on a different level, man. These guys are on a different level. We have Roger. He was on Knuckles Up. You know, all these guys.
Oh, Roger
Yes,
Lawler?
Roger.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Hey, I want to know against him, by the way, but go ahead.
you know, so, you know, we have great guys that are going to be on there. You know, what I mean, Garrett Tupper's Vermont's shield holder. You know, Sam Mitchell at 165 looks like honestly he could pull up to 200 pounds, and the guy is ridiculous what he was pulling yesterday, man. He really is. He's on that level, man. He really is. For his weight class, I can't believe what he could do. So these guys are a different level, man. Same thing with Aiden at 187. He's going to be an absolute beast. He's got his hands full with Mason, but I don't think Mason knows what Aiden can do, man. With the amount of pressure they can apply with his press is going to be on a different level. I don't think, and how fast he can do it is. So these guys are very special, man. They were personally picked. You know, same thing with Dan. You know, he's people kind of look at Dan. They think it's going to be a different story, and when they grab his hand, it's like it says, it's a fucking nightmare. You know what I mean? So
just these little hands, though. They're little. Don't mind the little hands.
So who's the captain of the other team then?
The captain of the other team? I have no idea. He's good luck for that guy, I can tell you.
Like, man, do we know who's on that other team?
Honestly, I'll be honest with you, I only know one guy, which is Len Houghton, and it's just because he's been pulling for years. You know what I mean? And I didn't really know until I started looking him up and had an idea. And then I was like, all right, yeah, no, I've seen you pulling a couple different. But in general, that's probably the only person that I could say that I've actually know. And Mason had an idea who he was. We had a different puller for him, for Aiden, and then they just put in Mason, you know, I guess because I'm not sure if one of his guys got hurt or whatever, but, you know, vice versa. I completely understand. You got to put in somebody as soon as possible, so I get it. Mason, I just think he just won Greece and FIA, or actually placed IFA, so just now. But at the same time, he's not 100% either, so I think Aiden's going to fucking rip his arm off.
There you go. I mean, even when you break down your opponent, break it down like this. And I don't know how deep you guys go, but this is how deep I go. Here's an example. Let's just say I'm pulling left hand, right?
Mm-hmm.
I got my left hand up, and I got the ref on that side. The head ref is on this side. You know, I might purposely slip because I know that person's getting the buckle because he's on that side. Whereas if the head ref's on this side, I'm going to do everything I can not to slip, because if it happens, then the buckle's on my side. But I don't give a fuck. I mean, it doesn't matter to me anyway. But I'm just saying, there are some people like that, and you got to watch that.
No, you're right. You're right. You're 100% right.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you're going to get the buckle eventually, but there are some people who try to avoid that where, hey, if I can slip purposely, I know my opponent's getting the buckle on the back of their hand. I'm good. You know, where if they don't, then they really try to hold on and make sure they don't slip. So, I mean, you got to break everything down just like that too. You know, I don't know if people catch that, but yeah, some people actually do that, you know?
Yeah, it's true. Definitely true.
All right.
So what day and where's this going? It's for the people watching in the chat. Where can we see this event?
Yeah, why don't you tell them, Dan?
So it's going to be on the M Spot. The event itself, the actual super matches will take place on the M Spot YouTube channel live there. Leading up to the event, though, we will be live on Steve Fernandez's Facebook page, as well as I believe we're going to be on his YouTube channel as well, New York Tri-State Arm Wrestling. So stay tuned for everything, the build up to this event, because it's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting. I know one of the things that, you know, Jody, you got the house going on, so we're actually building something up in a very similar fashion, and that's one of the things I love about the sport, because all these different areas of the nation are doing these super matches and these different concepts that are really showing that there is growth in the sport, and there's more to be had.
I mean, the house. I mean, gee, I'm my fucking anxiety is gonna, you know, rise to the top. You know, we got 2 more tournaments left for this year, and then after Washington State in December, I got to shift gears to this house thing and get my mind right, because it's like, okay, that means we're gonna be filming, you know, and all that kind of good stuff. And there's gonna be some added stuff, and you know, there'll be more meetings to have between now and then between Greg and myself and Jamie Sheldon. So, you know, I'm excited for that, the opportunity to be, you know, on something like that. But again, is it too much arm wrestling? I mean, when you get invited to do something like that, or you get invited or handpicked, as Steve would say, to do something what you guys are doing, Is it really too much? Because again, after what Steve just said and just mentioned, oh yeah, we got this house, we got a party bus, we got drinks, we got this and that, hot springs. I'm thinking, damn, you got a guys that got a whole itinerary. Like, hey, this is what's going down. You know, it's the whole experience. You know, and when you do it once, you're gonna want to do it again, and you want to make sure, okay, if I win, I know for a fact we're gonna do something like that fun again. If I lose, it's like, damn, now I gotta go to the back of the line, but I'll be back. So I mean, again, the way you guys are doing it, I like it.
Yep. Yeah, I think it's gonna be good.
I love being able to also share the story of me. You know, like one of the things that like hearing your story, Jody, has inspired me as well. You know, I know your viewers know all about your story, and it's inspired me to put myself out there though, because I used to be a little bit shy and bashful about it, a little ashamed. And, you know, after talking to people like Steve, you know, they've encouraged me to climb out of my own shell. And being that one of the things that, you know, I found myself in recovery after finding the sport, and the sport has helped me tremendously. You know, I'm now almost 10 months clean, and I love the lifestyle that I have through arm wrestling and being clean now. And it's presented really awesome, you know, opportunities like this to me.
Yeah. I'll say this, and I want you guys' feedback on that. Everybody in the chat, feel free to comment too. This sport has brought in a lot to me, right? Like, who would have thought I'd be going to all these places, you know, within the country competing? Who would have thought that I would be competing at a tournament in Canada or going to, you know, Arm Wars in Manchester, England? Never thought I would have done that. So from that perspective, you know, I'm thinking, oh, I've been to so many places in the States to pull and stuff on big stages and stuff and local stages and whatnot. And it kept me to the point like, all right, I could be that guy that said, fuck it. I'm just going to go to the bar, play some pool, shoot some darts, have a few drinks, come home and just be that normal guy. And I didn't want to be that normal guy, you know. So, you know, by me doing that forces me to I got to get back in the gym. You know, some men might be training harder than me, or, oh, man, we all see something on social media and go, oh, I can do that. But then you add 5 pounds more and you fucking post it. Because we all guilty of that shit, right? I've done it. It's like going, oh, can I do that? And then you try it. Nah, I ain't ready for that. You throw it away, right? So, I mean, we all do that. But it's keeping us engaged. It's keeping us out of trouble for the most part. So I think it's a blessing. But I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm overlooking this thing. Maybe I'm not seeing it the way everybody else is seeing it. You guys' thoughts?
I was going to say, I got to leave, guys. I got to go because I got 10 minutes to get to the concert.
Oh, go do your thing, man. Have fun tonight.
Guys, thank you so much.
Enjoy.
Oh, man, I appreciate it. Dan, we'll talk soon, man. And got some more news. So we'll talk later.
Ooh, absolutely. Enjoy the show, man.
Thanks.
Take care, man.
Have a good day, man.
Take care.
So to your question, man, I think that the sport of arm wrestling does keep me out of trouble. It keeps me out of trouble. I have found another part of my history is that I was 270 pounds when I came into the sport.
Really?
I'm not. Yeah, I was a big boy. The first thing I entered a room was my stomach, man. And I did not carry well. Being at 5'9", I was, you know, I was very morbidly obese, and I knew I needed to lose weight. Thanks to my son, teaching my son how to ride his bicycle was my catalyst. I'll go more into that. I don't want to spoil too much of my story. So definitely tune in, you know, at the end of the month. But I found purpose with the help of arm wrestling. I found goals with the help of arm wrestling. And the camaraderie that is within the sport and the individuals that supported me and encouraged me and saying, dude, like, thank you for sharing this because, you know, I thought I was alone in this.
Right.
We're never alone. And I'm here to remind each and every person that nobody's alone in this. Somebody's experienced something that you're enduring, that you're going through, and they found a way out of it.
Mm-hmm.
They found a way out of it, whether it's through arm wrestling or being, you know, a fan of arm wrestling or, you know, being involved in the sport some way or fashion. I encourage it all.
Because I think we want to be doing, I mean, from a guy standpoint, we want to be. I got to be doing something. You know, I come from a background where, you know, I was doing semi-pro football 7 years, but it gets to a point your body can't do that no more, right? And, you know, I did the competitive softball league and stuff. And it got to a point, well, you really can't do that. I'm not as quick as I used to be anymore. When you realize that, that fucking sucks, as it is anyway. But then you got to go, okay, I got to do something else. You know, you don't want to put too many hobbies on your plate because then you got to kind of find that balance of life and family time and you know, hobbies and whatnot. You got to find that happy medium. But, you know, when I stumbled upon this sport, I was all in. I was like, oh, this is pretty cool and stuff, you know, and because you do need that time where it's just you and the guys. If you're married, it's like, okay, it's you and your wife doing your thing. You and your kids and your wife doing the thing. Your wife and her friends doing their thing. And then you and the guys doing their thing. That's 4 different things, right? You got to have balance. It's okay if wifey wants to go out for the weekend. All right, you just be safe. When I leave to go to a tournament or my wife leaves to go somewhere with, you know, job fair or whatever, or with the girls or whatnot, it's, hey, I'll text you when I'm leaving, or, hey, I'll let you know when I get there. Just to kind of, you know, keep that open communication. But it's okay to do that, though, you know?
It's crucial to have that. And that's the other thing about the sport, too, is it keeps you, for me, it's kept me accountable.
Yeah.
It's kept me accountable in ways that I never thought imaginable. Like I said, I wanted to lose weight and I wanted to be strong. I couldn't just diet and go for runs to get those things, all those things, you know, in one. I remembered I actually enjoyed arm wrestling. I found arm wrestling actually at the Renaissance Fair back in 2019.
Okay.
I was one of those guys that dressed up in the garb, you know, dressed like a barbarian. If you look at my Facebook, you'll see me dressed up in that. At my 270-pound self, I was a big dude dressing up in a kilt and a freaking tunic, walking around with a homemade hammer type of deal. This mace hammer type of deal. And a buddy of mine from high school recognized me, despite all the garb and whatnot, and said, hey, I remember you being pretty good at arm wrestling at the cafeteria tables in middle school. How would you have to try your hat at a professional table? I'm like, I've never tried it before. Why not? Let's give it a shot.
Right.
Never knew anything about professional arm wrestling. Didn't even know it was a thing at the time. And I got second place without any training. COVID happened, though. Lockdown happened. Had a lot of free time. Watched Game of Arms. Reached out to a couple of people on Facebook. Mike Aiello being one of them. Chris Burton was another one of them. And a couple of them got back to me. I started hosting practices here in the pit. And 4 years later, I'm at the level where I'm going to Montana. Like, what?
You want to know something that's funny? That this coming February, right? Game of Arms will be fucking 12 years old. Wow. Think about that for a second. It premiered, I remember the day too, February 25th, right? 2013. Like,
wow.
Or was it 14? Can't remember. Man, think about that for a second. I'm like, damn, really? It's that old. But it seems like it only happened. It seemed like it only happened a couple years ago. It's funny because the more we talk about it, you know, it's like, oh, it only happened a couple years ago. No, it's been over a decade. So that's always you know, kind of something to chuckle at, you know. But still, it's like we see that, oh, that's kind of cool. You need something like that, characters, you know. Like Steve was saying, what is it about the nightmare that we should know? Make me understand why we should watch that. I want to hear a story. Oh, he's been sober, he's been clean. Okay, well, you know, what's going on with that, you know? And boom, they're into it now. Then all of a sudden you want to root for somebody. Oh, I'm rooting for a nightmare. All right, okay, I like the story. Man, I'm rooting for that guy. Now, granted, you're going to have villains. I get all that. It is what it is, right? You know, but then you're going to have the feel-good stories. You're going to have the villains, or, oh, this guy's a school teacher. Oh, this guy, you know, works on a farm, whatever. You want to know what makes it interesting because we're not all the same people. Like, this is not our job. This is something that we do and love. Like, you know, I'm working with youth at the fucking detention center, you know, kid jail. Jesus, you know, that's what I do for a living. It's like, and the stories, you know, that come through the intake, it's like, oh, what the fuck, you know? So dealing with that on a different kind of scale. And then I got to come home and just, take that mask off and put it over here. All right, babe, I'm home. Where my wife, she works at the courthouse. So we kind of in the same field, but I deal with the juveniles and she deals with the adults. Mm-hmm. So they kind of go like that. We come home, take off our mask from work. How was your day? That kind of stuff. People want to know about that. But then, what's the other reason, like Steve said, why you watch Chocolate Thunder? Well, it's right here. You see this? It's our foundation, right? So what we do on the side of our jobs is that we have this foundation, right? And what we do is because once upon a time, my wife and I were those parents where you got very active kids and they're into sports. And now sports, they got the travel teams. And then sometimes those travel teams, depending on what tournament you go to, it's an arm and a leg. And it's like, fuck, do we not pay this bill to make sure he goes? Okay, let's do that. And then we'll go ahead. We'll figure things out on the back end. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. Let's make sure that, he goes to play ball. You know what I'm saying? So we were those parents.
I know exactly.
So now, with this thing going on, we give back. So that's like, okay, well, guess what? I'm going to go ahead and we put this thing together. And, hey, my son needs cleats. Okay. Hey, we're writing up a check. Go ahead. Gymnastics. Oh, here's a gift card and a bracelet. Go do what you got to do, and we keep it going. We keep it going. You know what I mean? So that's what, what we do. And that, for me, it's exciting. But there's other stuff that people don't know about. It's getting together for meetings, Okay, what's the next fundraiser? It's, with the board of directors, have these Zoom meetings and go, okay, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? So there's more to it than just the surface, aspect of it,
Without a doubt. There's a lot that goes into it. There's, like they say, it takes a village, not just to raise a kid, but to raise a community,
right?
To raise an idea, to raise anything, and to build up anything. And we're all learning. That's one of the other sides of it too, right? I am not in any way or form the epitome of perfection, nor do I ever want to be. I've made my mistakes. I've stepped on people's toes and crushed people's hopes and dreams in my own fashion that I would not feel comfortable admitting to necessarily, but I've done it. And it's because I'm human and I'm learning from those mistakes and from those errors of my ways. And trying to make better for them by doing better today than I did yesterday.
Yeah. And we learn from them, we're not perfect. You said it. I said it, we're not perfect, but, do we learn from it is where it counts, and I think we do, and when you got, I'm here to tell you, man, when you have dealt with situations and you got people to reach out, hey, man, if you need anything, let me know. And it wasn't like they were just saying to be saying it. They actually meant that. Like that, I would go, hey, you haven't called back yet. You good? Because if you need anything, let me know, but you haven't said anything yet. What's up? That kind of stuff. That's when it's like going, oh, okay, they do care, and that right there, that's how you know that this arm wrestling thing is much deeper than just the competition on the table. It's deeper than that,
Without a doubt, man. I love that we have a platform to do this.
Yes.
We can literally from coast to coast, we can connect on something like this, and share our passion. Two different walks of life who normally would never cross each other's paths, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we're connecting on something that's special to both of us in different lights and different ways, but it still brings us together. And that's
we
what
just
stronger together means.
There's no script. We just talking shop.
Yeah.
And, when I did this show, I think, what year am I? Am I this 8 years I've been doing this now? Something like that. And before, I would just have like 5 questions. And then I'd be like, oh, hey, I got a question about this. And I'll tell them the questions. Because earlier, my shows were like fucking 30 minutes, and then it's like, all right, and then originally my show was on Facebook Live.
Okay.
Because I had more, tons of friends on Facebook. So I would go live and then they would chime in and stuff. And I would do it like that. But then I think I shared the story with you when you were on the show last time. And then it was like, hey, somebody reached out to me and go, so, because I've had Devin on my show Cobra, Donna. Yeah, I've had all those guys on my show. And someone said, hey, if I were to watch a certain episode that you've had, do I have to go through every single post you got on Facebook? And I've had so many videos since then, I'm thinking, damn, you're right. Where it's a lot easier if you go on the YouTube platform. So then I made the transition and got the YouTube, and now we got the chat and stuff, and then we've been going strong ever since. And it's just, we're just talking. I know some people get nervous about that, or, you know, there's some people that are like, well, I'll talk, but I don't want my face to be shown. Fine, not a problem. You know, we can do that. We just talking. Don't overdo it, or don't try to be somebody you're not. That's where you kind of run into issues. You just be yourself.
Natural and organic, man. That's one of the things I love about, you know, this platform. And not for nothing. Before I got into arm wrestling, I was in charge of creating a virtual platform for a company, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's where I kind of got my licks, if you may, for being on screen, because I was not a public speaker in any way or form. I hated it. I hated the idea of talking to a screen. I hated talking to, you know, anybody in masses, and I was uncomfortable with it, right?
Right.
To the point where I was stuttering. I was going all the time. I did not have the ability to make this a more natural experience. And then something just clicked in me and said, you know what? I have something good to say, because people are telling me that I have something good to say. So just go ahead and share. Free flow.
Well, I mean, not only that, but, you know, talking in front of people, I'm okay with it now. I'm perfect. Before, it was like I would stutter. So then it was like a buddy of mine says, well, put some sunglasses on, but look up in the sky. They don't know, and just kind of, you know, talk like this, because they don't know, you know, they don't know that you don't stutter. But at the same time, I'm thinking, but if I'm not making eye contact, then they're not buying what I'm selling, or they're not engaged. I gotta have them engaged. So I'm like, okay, if I'm making eye contact, and, you know, it's like, hey, I'm engaged, I'm talking to them, I'm going like that, you know, I talk with my hands a lot, and I'm making contact, you know. That way, what you're saying, you know, is legit. You know, does that make sense?
Oh, it makes perfect sense to me. You want to be able to see the visual responses and the cues that somebody is actually like absorbing what you're saying. I too talk with my hands. I always said, you know, like if you're standing in front of me, you might get smacked if I'm talking about something I love. And it's not because I don't like you. It's just because I'm just that passionate.
If you think this show is passionate, you wait till later on tonight, because yeah, and we talked about that before we went live. So folks in the chat, whoever's still watching, 6:45 West Coast time, I will have Luke Poster, and we are going to try to see if we can kind of get through this IFA WAF thing, you know, because it's getting to a point where we're picking sides. Pullers are picking sides, and we got to go, okay, what can we do to where we're not bashing one another? That's what it comes down. There were some statements that were said that kind of rubbed me the wrong way. I'm thinking, what the fuck? Explain yourself. And, you know, nothing that Luke said, but just, you know, some of the stuff that other people say, to the point we got other people just, you know, they're picking a side of the fence and then just attacking the other just because, you know. So that's one of those deals. But hey, that's later tonight. But anything else, my friend Nightmare, thank you for the expertise on this event, and I'll be looking forward to see what you guys post next.
Absolutely. I'm going to have some of the guys that are on the City Slickers card and Country Folk on my channel later on tonight at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. So I think that's about, what, 5:30 your time? Yeah, 5:30 there. So if you guys, for the first hour before Jody goes back live, come tune in, check out some of the competition. We're going to be talking to the guys that are hosting me in Puerto Rico as well. And we're going to be posting stuff every week, man, leading up to the event, and then our entire journey to Montana. I can't wait. Because, you know, there's some personalities that I've gotten to know and love and appreciate being around. And I think that they deserve a little bit of more screen time so then they can be loved and appreciated by the masses.
Right. No, that's awesome. I'm glad. I'll be looking forward to that. Is there a way we can, like, see the entire card to see who's pulling who? Is there a way we can find that out?
On Steve Fernandez's page right now, we have a couple individual flyers already made up. So if you go on Steve Fernandez's Facebook, check that out. The actual full card will be displayed again live. We're going to do face-offs the Friday night before the event during weigh-ins. And then I do believe we're going to have another flyer put out this week with the finalized cards. I got a buddy of mine who's we all know his artwork. I ain't gonna reveal who it is yet, but we all know his artwork, and he's working on it
Nice.
diligently. He's, that's one of the other things about this community I love, man. It's everyone wants to work together, on something like this. This is so cool. So
cool. I'm looking forward to it. I think I'll get on Steve's page once we get off, so I can kind of see the card and then repost that for everybody to see it. That way, they can kind of have a good idea. So when they watch your show tonight, they kind of go, oh, okay, I could put the name, and then I could put the face to the name. Yeah,
absolutely, man. I mean, I'll go over the lightweight guy. Zach Monroe is going up against our Garrett Tupper.
Mm-hmm.
He's from Canada. He's on Through the Fingers podcast. Steven mentioned Garrett's the father-son duo that's coming down. And these guys are, absolute monsters at the table. Garrett's looks like a freaking Olympic god. That's all I gotta say. This kid's probably easily the most chiseled, most defined puller on the team. Talk about arm envy. Whew, this kid looks good, and he looks good whether he wins or loses. But we know he's winning this one.
There it is. And like I said, it's going to be fun to see that, because there's going to be the stereotypical stuff and that kind of thing, and the camaraderie on both sides. And now it's going to go ahead and it's going to explode on this table, and you're cheering each other on, that kind of stuff. Man, what date is that again?
October 26th. It's going to be happening at, I want to say 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. So it's going to be an evening show, which is nice because it's a little bit different, to catch it in the evening when you're sitting on the couch relaxing. Definitely check it out. It's going to be a great show. A lot of commentary. We're going to have Dakota Shipton is going to be commentating it live. And then we got a couple other people who would be commentating. I think even Aussie said that he might tune in and do his own live commentary as well.
Hey, that's 19 days from now. So let's get after it, shall we?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, Dan, thanks for joining me on the show tonight. I'm going to go ahead and let you get prepped up for your show, and I'm going to get prepped up to watch yours and get ready for mine. But I want to thank you again for joining me on the show. And as always, man, you're more than welcome to come back.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate you, brother.
Take care, man. We'll see you next time.
Next time.